Breaking news from around your world on this Friday, April 19th, 2019. I'm Larry Rice. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un will travel to Russia this month for talks with President Vladimir Putin. The Kremlin revealed that on Thursday, announcing the first Russia-North Korea summit since Kim came to power in 2011. The announcement coincided with a moment of discord in efforts by President Donald Trump's administration to reach a deal with Kim to end nuclear tensions on the Korean peninsula. The Putin-Kim meeting would likely take place next week in Russia's far eastern city of Vladivostok before Putin flies on to an April 26th-27th summit in China. The Kremlin gave no further details in a statement on its website, but Moscow has been saying for months that it was working on such a meeting. Kim came to power in 2011 following the death of his father, Kim Jong-il, who had visited Russia for a summit with then-President Dmitry Medvedev earlier that year. It was not clear how Kim may travel to Russia, which shares a border with North Korea. U.S. and Russian diplomats both said on Thursday they could not support a United Nations Security Council resolution calling for a ceasefire in Libya at this time as mortar bombs crashed down on a suburb of the Libyan capital of Tripoli. Diplomats said Russia objects to the British-drafted resolution, blaming eastern Libyan commander Khalifa Haftar for the latest flare-up in violence when his Libyan National Army advanced to the outskirts of Tripoli earlier this month. The U.S. also gave no reason for its position on the draft resolution, which would also call on countries with influence over the warring parties to ensure compliance and for unconditional humanitarian aid access in Libya, which has been gripped by anarchy since Muammar Gaddafi was toppled in 2011. The United States U.N. mission declined to comment, and the Russian U.N. mission did not immediately respond to a request for a comment. A resolution needs 9 votes in favor and no vetoes by the U.S., Britain, France, Russia, or China, the so-called permanent 5, to pass. It was not immediately clear if Britain would persist with negotiations on a draft next week. House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer of Maryland dismissed the prospect of impeaching President Donald Trump following the release of a redacted version of Special Counsel Robert Mueller's report, which found no clear evidence that Trump's campaign illegally conspired with Russia to influence the 2016 election. Based on what we have seen to date, going forward on impeachment is not worthwhile at this point, Hoyer told CNN. There is an election in 18 months, and the American people will make a judgment. House Judiciary Chair Jerry Nadler of New York formally asked Mueller to testify before his committee to better understand his findings. 3 renowned professional alpinists are missing and presumed dead after an avalanche in Canada's Rocky Mountains. Climbing media named the men as American Jess Roskelley, who was 36, and 28-year-old Austrians David Lama and 35-year-old Hans-Jörg Auer. They were killed after attempting to climb a challenging route on Howse Peak in Banff National Park. Canadian authorities did not release the names of the 3 men, but said they were 1 American and 2 Europeans and described them as highly experienced professional mountain athletes. Roskelley was best known for climbing Mount Everest at the age of 20 in 2003, making him the youngest person at the time to have climbed the world's highest mountain. Lama and Auer were also world-class mountaineers who had climbed some of the toughest routes around the globe. Parks Canada said in a statement the party was attempting the east face of Howse Peak on Tuesday. The 3 men were reported overdue on Wednesday. Strong storms again roared across the southern U.S. Thursday, killing 2 Mississippi drivers and leaving more than 100,000 people without power across Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas. National Weather Service forecasters said they believe multiple tornadoes hit southwest and central Mississippi, although they won't be sure until damage is surveyed. High winds were also reported in Louisiana earlier in the day and in central Alabama as the system quickly pushed eastward. Forecasters predicted the system would push into Georgia before sunrise Friday. On the backside of the system, there were also reports late Thursday of high winds in southern Oklahoma. Damage from the storm was reported in at least 24 of Mississippi's 82 counties. The same storm produced tornadoes and hail earlier in North Texas, the Texas Panhandle, Oklahoma, and southeastern Kansas. Facebook acknowledged it stored the passwords of millions of Instagram users in plain text when they should have been encrypted. Last month, in a blog post, the social media company said the issue had potentially affected tens of thousands of users. Facebook, which owns Instagram, said their passwords were stored in an unencrypted database available to some 20,000 Facebook employees. The company updated the blog post to admit the problem was more widespread than previously stated. Earlier Thursday, Facebook said it collected email contacts from 1.5 million users who signed up after May 2016 and unintentionally uploaded them to Facebook, importing the information to improve Facebook's ad targeting. Facebook said it had no evidence the data was internally abused or improperly accessed. President Trump and his wife Melania will make a state visit to Japan at the end of May to meet the newly enthroned emperor. Crown Prince Naruhito will succeed his abdicating father, current Emperor Akihito, May 1st. Trump will also hold talks with Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe during the May 25th through 28th visit and reportedly may attend a sumo match as well. The White House said Friday that Abe will also visit Washington on April 26th and 27th to talk about North Korean nuclear disarmament, trade, and other issues. The National Enquirer is being sold to the former head of the airport newsstand company Hudson News, following a rocky year in which the tabloid was accused of burying stories that could have hurt Donald Trump's 2016 presidential campaign. Tabloid owner American Media said Thursday it plans to sell the supermarket weekly to James Cohen. Financial terms were not immediately disclosed for the deal, which included two other American media tabloids, The Globe and The National Examiner. American Media said last week that it wanted to get out of the tabloid business to focus on its other operations that include its teen brand and broadcast platforms. News of the sale comes 2 months after Amazon chief Jeff Bezos publicly accused the National Enquirer of trying to blackmail him by threatening to publish explicit photos of him. America's first female astronaut candidate, pilot Jerry Cobb, who pushed for equality in space but never reached its heights, has died. Cobb died in Florida at the age of 88 in March following a brief illness. In 1961, Cobb became the first woman to pass astronaut testing. Altogether, 13 women passed the arduous physical testing and became known as the Mercury 13. But NASA already had its Mercury 7 astronauts, all jet test pilots and all military men. None of the Mercury 13 ever reached space, despite Cobb's testimony in 1962 before a congressional panel. Instead of making her an astronaut, NASA tapped her as a consultant to talk up the space program. She was dismissed 1 week after commenting, "I'm the most unconsulted consultant in any government agency." Cobb served for decades as a humanitarian aid pilot in the Amazon jungle. The Soviet Union ended up putting the first woman in space in 1963, Valentina Tereshkova. NASA didn't fly a woman in space until 1983 when astronaut Sally Ride rode on the Space Shuttle Challenger. And that's your update for this Friday, April 19th, 2019. I'm Larry Rice. Thanks so much for listening and for supporting this podcast, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend.